Hey, welcome to the Illinois Business Playbook. We've got Dr. Pete here today with us. How are you doing today, sir?
Doing great. How about yourself?
I'm doing great. We are kind of doing it at the beginning of the week here. So we had a weekend to have a little fun. Did you do anything exciting over the weekend? Any highlights of your Saturday and Sunday?
Yeah, so I help coach wrestling. So we had a
Oh,
wrestling
nice.
tournament on Saturday. And then yesterday I helped to sponsor boxing matches. So I went and watched those. And
Okay.
yeah, that was about it. It was a good weekend.
Right on. So you say you coach and stuff like that. Are you a former wrestler? Did you do boxing in the background? What exactly led you to kind of to do those sort of things?
Yeah, so I used to box and I used to wrestle. I got into boxing when I was like 10 years old,
Oh,
all
wow.
the way up through high school, and then I wrestled all throughout high school, and I was always into like the combat sports.
Sure.
I wasn't a big kid, so I did play football and other things, but it just wasn't for me at the time. So
Right.
I kind of went towards those types of sports. And my dad was a boxer; he was one of the coaches, so
Okay.
that's what got me into that. And yeah, I've just been having a part in that ever since. So
Nice. Nice. Well, you certainly sent some pictures to us that we've been putting out of the social media platforms. I don't think anybody that's watching that's seen any of those pictures would decide that there's no way in the world this guy could ever be doing those sort of things. You look like you're in pretty good shape, I guess. But that's great. That's great. So you had a good weekend, and
Mhm.
well, let's start this off with a great week. So, what I'd really like to kind of get started here with you, Dr. Pete, is tell us about your business and tell us more importantly, like what inspired you to start doing what you're doing.
So, I mean, there's kind of a lot to that.
Sure, go for it.
I grew up on a farm, and
Okay,
so I started working whenever I was a kid. So I feel like I had this like work ethic about me, and my dad was always a business owner. So I guess it started from a young age. And when I got into school, the goal was always to start my own business, start my own practice,
sure.
and just being a chiropractor, I love helping people and I love getting people back to doing the things that they love to do. And that's kind of how all that started. And it's been, in May, it'll be 4 years that I've had my own practice.
Okay,
I started actually right out of school. I moved to New Jersey and worked out there for a few years
mm,
for a company as a chiropractor
sure.
and learned a lot. And I definitely thank myself for doing that and making that decision because I learned a lot and how to run a business and
Mm,
um, just the different things that come with it. How to treat a lot of different things.
sure.
So that's basically everything in a nutshell.
Okay. What and does your what is the practice? What's the name of the practice? Is the Rising Phoenix Chiropractic? Is that correct?
Yep.
What? So I've actually referenced that before. I've told people before when they're still looking to try to become their best selves that you're basically a phoenix that's getting ready to rise. And so I'm not just saying that because you're on here. That's certainly been some terminology I've used before with people that have been on my team or people
hmm
maybe people that I'm married to. Who knows? But why did you make that decision to name it the Rising Phoenix Chiropractic?
Well, just like you said, I feel like when people come to me, typically they're in pain or they're in a low part of their life.
Sure.
Like I said, maybe they're not able to do things that they love to do. And I feel like, after they come here, they're like rising from the ashes into like this new person and
Love it.
getting back to doing those things and just having a better quality of life as well. So
Beautiful.
that's where that came from.
I love it.
Yeah.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Um, what sort of challenges have you found? You said you've been doing this for about 4 years or so. So as a local business person in the area here, what sort of challenges um, have you dealt with, and how have you overcame some of those challenges?
So I would say the biggest, well, I'm not from here, so I grew up in Southern Illinois.
Okay.
And when I was leaving New Jersey, I wanted to be closer to my family, but I didn't want to go back to Southern Illinois. So I came out here because my sister and my brother-in-law live out here.
Sure.
And just not knowing anybody, I think that was a huge obstacle that I had to overcome.
Bet.
So starting a business, not knowing anybody, nobody knowing you. So I think getting your name out there was probably the hardest part.
Mm.
And then just I like to go out and meet people. I'm very active, so I was a member at multiple gyms. I got back into doing like the boxing, and started coaching wrestling. Just was able to meet a lot of people through that, and then the different gyms that I go to. So that allowed me to overcome that obstacle and meet a lot of new people and meet a lot of business owners. In the beginning, it was one of those things where you're sitting here and there's nobody coming in. What do you do? So you print out business cards and you walk around and you go to different businesses and hand them out. And so I did that. I also did or I still do events. I'll sponsor 5Ks, sponsored the boxing matches, and just do different things like that just to get myself out there, people to see my face. It also helps, like with one of the gyms that I go to, they do like competitions. So
Okay.
just being a part of that, doing the competitions with those gym members too, I think they get to know you more, trust you more, like you more as a person. And, they're more likely to come see you because they know you and they trust you. And they also understand that you understand what they're going through because you're actually doing what they do.
Yes.
And so that's helped me out a lot in overcoming that obstacle.
Let's kind of stay on that theme for a second then, Dr. Pete. One of the best
Sure.
things that you can do as a small business is to grow your customer base, right? And so
Mhm.
you're kind of alluding to some of those things, but what have you found are some of your best strategies to grow that customer base?
So again, just meeting people. Also, social media is a big thing too. That's huge in the world nowadays.
Right.
So
Absolutely.
just posting on social media, and still people posting personal things too, like doing a competition. People, I feel like they like to see that you are an actual person outside the office, and you're not just this doctor, chiropractor, or whatever you may be.
Right.
So does that answer your question?
That's it, Dr. Pete. You did great there. You did great there. Yes, yes. I kind of it kind of reminds me of like when we were kids, and then we would see like a teacher out in public, right? And we were like, oh my gosh, they're an actual real. I think that's kind of what you're saying, right? You don't want to just be Dr. Pete. You want to be, hey, I'm a human being just like you, right? Like,
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
yeah. Have you looked into any chambers and stuff like that? Because I know people that are affiliated with the chambers, of which my wife and I, that gives you a lot of really wonderful opportunities to kind of get your name out there as well. Is that something that you've looked into, or are you already part of those?
I briefly looked into those. It's
Okay.
just not something that I pursued. I still have that in the back of my mind that I should, become a member of a chamber. I did do networking groups.
Okay.
So that was good at meeting people too, and other businesses. So I think I was a member of 3 of them, and that was they were good. They just weren't really for me personally.
Okay.
So
You got to have that comfort. You got to find out what works for you for sure.
yeah.
What sort of being a doctor and doing what you're doing, obviously you've already seen a lot of alterations in the industry. So how do you plan to deal with any future trends in the industry, and what sort of future trends do you anticipate?
Well, there's a lot of new instruments coming out.
Okay.
I have had a lot of experience with those in the past whenever I was in New Jersey, because we had pretty much everything. I mean, it was a pretty big company, so I know a lot about those things. But I also go to a lot of seminars.
Okay.
We have to keep up on our continuing education. The soft tissue work that I do every year, I recertify, so I stay up to date on all of that. And I feel like there's more of a trend now. People are like want to get healthy. They want to get away from, living on pills and those types of things. So they're pursuing that alternative health care and just trying to be healthy overall.
Okay.
So fitness, like I said, alternative healthcare, whatever it may be, chiropractic, acupuncture, anything like that. So I feel like that's kind of where the trend is going, which is a great
Mhm.
thing. So people aren't always coming to us as like a last resort type of a
Mm.
thing.
Sure.
They still do, and that's okay. We can still help.
Yeah.
But I feel like those people or people in general are more likely to come to somebody like me first with different types of issues that they might be experiencing. So,
Have you can you tell us all a moment of success you've had, whether it not be a client, I guess in this case probably a client, but somebody that sort of stands out to you, that sort of really crystallizes why you're doing what you're doing and continues to inspire and motivate you to this day?
well, it's hard to pick just one.
I know everybody says that. You could
Yeah.
you could say more than one, Dr. Pete. That's okay.
Well, I just think overall, I love when it's very rewarding. Again, when people come in and they tell me like how much it's helped and that they're able to do things, and it could be everyday things too, not just
Sure.
getting back to the gym, but oh, I can pick up my kid again. Um, those things are very powerful and
Yeah.
very rewarding. Um, there's somebody that sticks out in my mind. I was kind of their last resort. They had surgeries, huge fusions in the spine,
Mm.
rods
Oh,
going through, and like I said, I was their last resort. They're like, I'm going to give chiropractic one more shot, and if it doesn't help, then I don't know what I'm going to do. And I was able to help her out a lot. She got back to the gym. She had her first kid. She was working and not standing there in pain all day. She did hair for a living,
okay.
so always on her feet and everything. And so that one really sticks out in my mind. I talk about her a lot.
Okay.
So
Beautiful. Beautiful.
yeah.
Beautiful. Really quick too, and I'm just kind of going by some of the trends that exist. Before I actually ask you my last question, I do want to ask you this: has AI impacted your business at all? Is there ways in which that you use it? Are there ways in which that it's concerning to you in some sort of way? Like, does artificial intelligence play any part in what you're doing?
Um, Not really. I'm kind of old school. I don't really use AI much.
Okay.
And as far as it impacting me, I don't think so because you can't get adjusted by AI,
Very true.
they have to actually come in and see me. It's like,
Sure.
same thing. You can't go get your hair cut by the computer. So
Sure.
I don't think it'll impact me much as far as I can tell. There's no clue what the future holds really
Sure.
for it. But yeah,
And and then you said you started 4 years ago. Correct me if I'm wrong. Wasn't that during COVID at that time? Was that correct? Or were you kind of post COVID when you kind of got started?
it was, it was, I don't want to say it was in the middle of it. It was kind of like right after it. I mean, there were still, mask mandates, those types
Mhm.
of things. And it didn't really impact
Good.
me. There were some people that just in general did not want to go out in public, for fear of getting sick and those
Sure.
types of things. So I guess it impacted a little bit with maybe those people who just weren't comfortable going out and in public at
Hmm.
that time. But I still had plenty of patients that did come in and, they would wear masks and everything, and that's fine.
Sure.
But yeah, it wasn't like right in the middle of it where there was a lot of businesses that weren't able to be open. I mean, we were considered an essential service, so
You're
chiropractic
right. That would
offices
make sense.
were still able to be open and see patients.
Beautiful. Okay. Well, listen, we've really had a great time talking here. I would love for people to get to know you, get to see you, get to speak to you, get to reach out to you. So, what are the best ways for them to do so, Dr. Pete? How do they get a hold of you?
Well, they can visit my website. All my information is on there. You can send me a message through the website, send me an email, or just give me a call if there's any questions. Um, I do like to talk to people before they actually step into the office, so I kind of have a feeling of what's going on and if I can help them. Because if I can't, then I'd like to send them somewhere that's best equipped for them.
Sure.
So my website is risingphoenixhealth.com.
Okay.
And all my information's on there. You can also check out my Instagram, Rising Phoenix Chiro. A lot of good videos on there, and also my information is in the bio on there too.
And if somebody decides to go boxing, maybe they'll see one of those matches, right?
Yep.
Awesome. Well, listen, Dr. Pete, really appreciate your time. Really appreciate learning about you, learn about your motivations. You certainly are a very passionate individual about what you do, and we certainly love that on the business playbook. So thank you so very much. You have yourself a wonderful day. Okay.
All right. Thanks, Joe.
You got it.